Greetings, true believers, and welcome to another thrilling episode of Big Freakin' Toys. I'm Mac Daddio.
And I'm Super Duper.
And today we're going to talk about one of the most distinctive figures from Hot Toys' recent licensing of the blockbuster film, The Avengers. This figure is amazing, it's awesome, it's the Hulk.
Some might say it's incredible!
You know, Hot Toys has released many different licenses from different movies over the last few years. And outside of the Iron Man series from the 3 movies, the Avengers series is the one that they've actually released the most figures. They've released 10 figures so far from the Avengers license. And of course, everybody was paying attention because they wanted to make sure they got all the figures that they could. Of course, nobody was going to want just 1 or 2 of the Avengers. They're going to want the whole set. And we managed to snag the Hulk figure pretty much after it was set up for pre-release. So let's start off by talking about the packaging for this figure right off the get-go.
So this is the box for the Iron Man Mark 7 from the Avengers. Now Hot Toys really likes to make their box design match the figures and the licenses of the movies that the boxes are from. So for this, they gave it a very comic book feel. They put a picture of the Avenger at the front, a design of the symbol near the sides, and the name at the top. And all of the boxes for the regular sized figures are exactly the same size.
And here's the box for the Hulk figure. Obviously a much larger figure than the rest of them, but it's still in 6 scale, just like the rest of the figures. It just happens to be a larger character. So you have a box now that's made out of very thick cardboard, and it actually has a styrofoam tray on the inside where the figure rests, as opposed to a clear plastic tray for most of the rest of Hot Toys figures. Now this box is very, very sturdy, and because it fits the color scheme and keeps the figure nice and snug, we gave this box a 5 out of 5 star score. Of course, it's still a Hot Toys box, it's still collector friendly. You don't have to undo a lot of twist ties or pull a lot of tape out or destroy the box to get the figures out. They know that collectors are going to want to put them back in the box at some point, but this is probably one of the most sturdiest boxes I've ever seen for a figure, and that's why it got the full 5 star score. Now, if you're a fan of Hot Toys figures and you've been watching them over the last few years, you've noticed that the quality of the sculpt and the likenesses of the figures have definitely improved. With a figure like this, you have to take into consideration that not only did they sculpt the face, but they also had to sculpt an entire new body to go along with it. So the sculpting of this figure really comes down to the face and the muscles and the legs and the arms, and all of that figures into the score. And we gave this figure a 4.5 out of a possible 5 stars because of how great the likeness is. It really does look like the Hulk from the movie, and that's pretty incredible considering that the character in the movie was all CG. And it's a pretty awesome likeness. The one thing that brings it down a half a point is the fact that the way the face is sculpted, you can't really see the eyes very well, and that's particularly important because this figure actually comes with a rolling eyeball system where you can position his eyes to look in any particular direction, which you really can't see in certain lighting unless you get up really, really close. Other than that, the quality of the sculpt from the face to the rubber skin, the sculpting of the arms, which enables you to move the arms without any visible seams, the sculpting of the legs and the feet, and the lower torso is incredibly detailed, and there's no mistaking that this is the Hulk from this movie. And that's the whole point of a good sculpt, is that you instantly know that this is the character from a particular film. And this figure is definitely deserving of the 4.5 score that it got. You might think that paint is kind of a minor detail for most figures, and for most Hot Toys figures they are, because you're talking about a figure that is fully clothed and just requires some paint on the face and the hands. But this figure has a considerable amount of paint work done to it that's very, very subtle because he's in fact just wearing a pair of raggedy shorts. So you've got to cover the entire figure with a paint application that looks like real skin. Let's start with the face, where we look at his mouth and his teeth. The teeth have a nice glossy finish to them that's very different from the rest of the face. There's some very subtle stubble work done on his face, and there's some creases that are airbrushed in lightly. Also very nice work around the neck and across the chest where there is some molded chest hair. They've actually gone through and darkened that little bit with paint. And then the veins are actually airbrushed very, very lightly on the back and the front and along the arms, and especially around the neck, to really give them that look that they're popping out. It's very, very detailed and very, very nice. There's one problem with the paint that managed to knock this down a full star score, and that is on the shoulders and the back of the figure. It appears as though maybe a piece of plastic or whatever cloth might have been laying underneath it as it was drying managed to get adhered to the shoulders and left a couple patches of smuts on the shoulder right up near the joint. It's not visible when you're looking at the figure from the front or even standing a little bit below it, but if you're standing up above the figure you can definitely see it. So that did manage to knock it down. I've not seen this kind of problem in any of the other figures that Hot Toys has produced, so this is definitely a one-off thing, but something that you want to be aware of when you're getting this figure. But overall, this character really deserved the 4 out of 5 star score that it got for the paint job. It just overall, it's an amazing, very realistic and very lifelike figure.
I think you're very tense. I think you need to relax. Maybe go on a vacation. How was your day? Stressful? Yeah, I know how it gets. Oh! Hey! Let's talk about articulation! So we gave this figure 4 out of 5 stars for articulation, mainly because of the ingenuity of the joints themselves. All of the major joints are all ratchet joints, which, when moved with the rubber skin, gives a very nice flexing look and the veins move accordingly. Along with the neck joint, which, when moved, the chest and the veins also move along with it, giving it a very realistic look. You can also control the Hulk's eyes using the eye stalks back here, which all you have to do is remove the hair piece and just move the eye stalks around. And that causes the eyes to move. And then all you have to do is put the hairpiece back, and it's perfect. Another cool thing about the Hulk is he does have these extra hands, which are posable. Each individual finger has a wire in it that you can use to bend the fingers into a fist. So overall, this character has very nice articulation, especially for a figure this size. And with its posability, will be posed very nicely with the rest of the Avengers figures you have. Definitely deserving of the 4 out of 5 stars.
On the subject of outfits, there's not really much we can say about the Hulk. He is in fact just wearing, as we mentioned before, a raggedy pair of shorts. But this is actually a really, really good job on the outfit because everything on these pair of pants is to scale. For instance, it actually does have belt loops all the way around like dress pants would have. He also has front and back pockets. He also has a button in the front where you would snap it up at the top. And the threading on the sides and the seams is all to scale. It is also interesting to note that he does have a pair of Speedos on underneath the shorts for whatever reason, but overall the outfit works for him. He is in fact the Hulk, so he doesn't need much. And this definitely is deserving of the score that we gave it, which is 4 stars out of 5.
So for the Hulk, we got the very bare minimum of swag. Because all we really got were 2 hands that have very nice articulation. But even though they gave him these nice hands, they didn't give him anything to hold. What we think he should have had were maybe the police car boxing gloves that he used in The Incredible Hulk, or a piece of metal that he could hold in his hand, or maybe even a Chitauri helmet. In terms of stand, they could have given him like a nice broken rubble stand to stand on. But because we didn't get any of that, we can only give him a 3 out of 5 stars for swag.
Now, this figure is about as spot on with the comparison photos as you could hope to receive. We gave it a 4.5 out of a possible 5 stars, and the only reason we knocked it down a half a star was because hairpiece is actually comprised out of two separate pieces that then fits on top of the head. You can see where those two hairpiece sections have been glued together. And also the seam where the hairpiece meets the head itself is pretty obvious. That's a really, really tiny thing because most of the time you're not even going to be looking at those kind of things. You're going to be just looking at the likeness and at the sculpting, and everything matches the prototype photos really, really well. Hot Toys did an outstanding job sculpting and creating this figure, and it carried over into the final product, which is the whole point of the comparison section anyways, and that's why we gave it the great score of 4.5 out of 5. So overall, this is a really amazing and detailed figure. It's got a great likeness, great sculpting, great paint job. It's got great articulation, and it's super solid. It's got a great likeness of the character, and overall it got a 4 out of 5 stars. Definitely deserving of that score. You can check out these and other great Hot Toys figures at Sideshow Collectibles. That's sideshowcollectibles.com. They're the only official U.S. distributor for Hot Toys figures, and they also make their own great line of figures and statues as well. You can also go to the Hot Toys site itself at hottoys.com.hk and check out all the great releases that they have. They've got a great archive of all the figures that they've done over the last few years, and it's great to check out the cool images they've had.
So the question this week is, what version of a Hulk do you like best, whether that be from the movies, the TV shows, or even the comic books? Make sure you like us on Facebook and subscribe to the YouTube channel.
So until next time, this is Mac Daddio,
And I'm Super Dupert.
Excelsior!
Call it, Captain.
All right, listen up. Until we can close that portal, our priority is containment. Barton, I want you on that roof, eyes on everything, call out patterns and strays. Stark, you got the perimeter. Anything gets more than 3 blocks out, you turn it back or you turn it to ash. Thor, you gotta try and bottleneck that portal. Slow him down. You got the lightning. Light the bastards up. You and me, we stay here on the ground. Keep the fight.
Excuse me, Mr. Hulk guy. Your fly's undone. I was always trying to help.